actually playing? All right, Yahoo. Okay. I like to begin each of my sessions with some quotes because I think to look at things differently, to be able to get a different perspective on things is so important. So I like to pull out different things. So this one, and you can write this down if you want to. Autumn leaves don't fall, they fly. They take their time and wander on this, their only chance to soar. And that's by Delia Owens from Where the Crawdads Sing. So again, people just put things in different formats and different ways that touch us differently. So I'm going to allow you a couple of minutes to jot that down if you want to. I do encourage you to write things down, to record things, because when you do that, whether it's through drawing or writing or poetry, whatever it is, it shows that you care enough about it to write it down. When I taught little kids, I would ask them a question like, what's your favorite color? And then I would write it on this big, huge board. Johnny's favorite color is blue. And my goodness, they puffed up so much because it meant that it was important to them. So if it's important to you, take the time to honor it by writing it down or documenting it in some way. Okay, so there's the first one. The second one is, oops, there we go. I have this probably unhealthy obsession with Winnie the Pooh, I'm not gonna lie. And I love this quote. It's the first day of autumn, a time of hot chocolatey mornings and toasty marshmallow evenings, and best of all, leaping into leaves. Very different than the first quote. Evokes maybe a different set of emotions or images or memories or whatever. So, and if, hopefully one of these three quotes that I have selected resonates with you on some level, but I'll give you a couple of minutes to write that one down if you'd like to. And again, if you want to wait until you get the link for the webinar on their AARP YouTube, you can just copy it at that point because you'll be able to stop in the middle of it. Okay, so just a couple of minutes. All right. And then the last one is autumn shows us how beautiful it is to let things go. And I'm not quite sure that I need to say anything more about that. It says it all just so perfectly. So you can jot that one down as well. All right, let's continue on to the science of smell. Now, as I get older, certain things I know and I understand, but I want to maybe learn a little bit more about it. And when I was creating this program for my students, it was important that I understood the relationships that nature had with me as well as I felt other people could have. And so my goal was to present information that made me go, oh my gosh, that's so cool. Because if I did that, I was assuming my students are going to get as excited about it as I was. So it was it was coming from a place of excitement, of love for me. So the science of smell, and there's something about fall. I mean, we've all heard it, sweater weather and all that fun things that we attach to fall. But why? Why, for me personally, was it so endearing? So I decided to do a little bit of a deep dive and look into the science of it. And this I came upon this article from the CBC, which is the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation. And this is what it says. I remember kicking my feet through the leaves and that sugary smell as a child, said Egan Davis, the principal instructor of the horticulture training program at the University of British Columbia. When I kick my feet through raked maple leaves now, some 45 years later, I am taken back to that moment when I was 4 or 5, and I'm whooshing my boots through maple leaves. Now, throughout this program, and hopefully if you join me in the other sessions that I instruct, I love fun facts. So here's a fun fact for you that maybe you didn't know, and I was a lot older than I probably even want to admit when I learned this, but maple sugar is only made in North America, because North America, and not only in North America, but the northeast part of North America, because it's the only place that grows sugar maple trees. And you may have just heard my bird, Tiki. She likes to be vocal and she tries to take over my classes. There she goes again. But in Europe, if they want maple syrup on their pancakes, they have to import it from us. So I think that's pretty interesting. So I just thought I would share that with you. But back to that stamping and that memory. The memory was stamped into David's brain was a nostalgic flashback that pops up whenever he senses the smell of fall. It turns out there's a scientific reason Davis has a smell inextricably linked to the season in his head. It's the combination of chemistry, biology, and psychology that triggers different emotions like anxiety, sadness, or excitement, depending on one's personal collection of memories associated with that time of the year. Now, before we go any further, if what we're going to learn about interests you to where you want to go and do a little bit more research on your own, which I'm hoping something in this lesson will just light a little spark for you. Know that if you're going to do any kind of research, reflecting, or investigating on the internet, it's important that you look at sources that maybe have a .org or a .edu. Those are the ones that are going to give you the most credible information. Not that a .com can't, but a .org has to jump through a little bit more hoops in order to put out their information. So if you find it in a .com, just see if you can back it up with a .org or a .edu. Okay. So for most of us in the grand scheme of populations, fall meant going back to school, right? For many of us in this world, that's what fall is. So our emotional reaction to any smell comes to the personal meaning that we've assigned to it. So typically stamped in your brain when you're young, sensing smells and forming memories with them for the first time. That's why so many people associate the smell of fall with back to school. Now, again, you could be like the child in the illustration on the top that was anxiety ridden. School may have not been a fun, happy place for you. So you have a little bit of anxiety come fall time. And maybe you don't even know why, but that could be a reason. Another thing, maybe you're like the little kid on the bottom who loved school, couldn't wait to go to school. So right now, what I'd like you to do is to jot down what your memories of fall were related to when you were getting ready to go back to school. Whatever that was for you, however you interpreted it, I'd like you to put that in the chat. And what we'll do is we'll take the first 5 that come up and then we'll go over them. If nobody wants to share, that's perfectly okay as well. This really is not supposed to give you anxiety about participation or anything like that. But if you did want to share, please just type in the chat box what your feelings were about going back to school come fall. And I'll give you a couple of minutes to do that.
Going back to school in the fall, what do you
What emotions came up, maybe what associations came up with that. And we'll see if what people come up with in the chat box. So Robin, it looks as though because I am screen sharing, I cannot access the chat. So I'm hoping that you can.
I can. So we have anticipating seeing classmates, homework and playing with friends.
Mhm,
Somebody experienced fear as an emotion. Somebody
mhm.
hated school until they were an adult and then completed 8 degrees, and it took them 3 tries to get through high school. Excited for new clothes and marching band. Yep.
Right.
Let's see. Look forward to going back. It meant new clothes and seeing friends. Don't like the cold weather. So
Mm.
seeing friends, new students and families, excitement, new pens, pencils, crayons. Oh my gosh, me too. Oh, I love office supplies. So a lot of excitement.
Excellent. Thank you so much for adding your 2 cents to our, it makes it a better, like I said, I've been doing these kinds of programs since 2020, and we can form a community, even though we're all sitting in different cities and different places, by participating in certain things. So thank you all for wanting to participate. And it's so interesting that a lot of those things we can all relate to. I, like you, Robin, could not wait for that crayon box with the crayons that were never used. And it had the little sharpener in the back of it, like the jumbo size crayons. But I do have to say that I went to a Catholic school for, till 8th grade. So the new clothes thing didn't really happen, but I did get new uniforms. But it was a lot of the same emotions, and that's part of, I think, what we can see, that there is a collective thing that happens with us, but it also means that no 2 people smell and feel fall the same way. Now, all of those things we conjured up because of back to school, which happens in the fall. And so when we smell certain smells, and we'll get into more of why the smell of fall is so, it permeates almost everything that we do this time of the year. We'll learn why, but we all have assigned that sense of fall in our brains in a different way. So now you have homework. Now I saw that y'all could participate in this really well. So now this is for you to do at home. I would like for you to kick, jump, pick up leaves, smell all that you can smell from them. Try to catch them as they're falling from the trees. That's one thing that my kids and I used to do. We looked like kind of like goofballs out there trying to catch the leaves before they hit the ground. But I want you to just smell that. Just stop and inhale and think, what is the first thing that comes to my mind? What is the emotion? Is it happy? Is it sad? Is it I'm hungry? Is it I'm tired? Is it I'm rejuvenated? Whatever it is, again, there is no wrong way to experience. There's only your way. But what I want you to do is to sort of get in touch with yourself and have nature help you to get that, to become more aware of yourself. So that is homework. So I would like for you, again, And who cares who's watching? We're all at a certain age. We don't care, right? You're going to kick through the leaves and you're going to throw them in the air and have them tumble down on you, and you're going to smell them, and you're going to see what am I feeling? What does this either bring up as far as memories go, or excitement, or what is going on there when I do that? So that's homework. But I also, and I know that we talked about, we all grew up in a totally different world where these things didn't exist, these cell phones and whatnot. And if you wanted to call us and we weren't home, we just weren't home, right? But when we're thinking about nature, and I would love for you guys to think about journaling when you're out on the trails, or when you're just sitting outside or looking out your window. Nature is everywhere. You don't have to go immerse yourself in the mountains or by some crystal lake to get the benefits of nature. It is everywhere. It is your house plants. It is looking out your window. So I want you to think about how you can interact with nature in a way that is going to benefit you as easily as possible. So journaling is an amazing thing. But sometimes when found out when my students were doing nature journaling, to go sit on a trailhead at some park with your journal, especially if you were trying to draw something, it was intense, and it was like terrifying. What if somebody comes and wants to see my stuff? Or, and what if my pencil breaks? What if my pen runs out of ink? All this stuff that happens. What if it rains and my paper gets wet? So to eliminate the anxiety, I think if you can use your cell phone as a tool. Every cell phone has, on the left-hand side, I circled a little icon. It's called the notes section. I'm sure you're probably all aware of it. But on the notes section, on the second cell phone, you'll see I circled at the bottom, there's a microphone. What I'd like you to do is to, when you're outside or on the trails or observing something like an oncoming storm or wind or whatever it is, record in the notes section. You just push that button and you just start talking into your phone. We call it stream of consciousness talking, where you don't care about punctuation. You don't care about, spelling, grammar, any of that. You're just talking, and you're talking through your observations, your emotions, your intellectual things. Like, I think that's a ruby-throated, hummingbird, or whatever it is. But record everything with the idea that you're trying to capture what's happening. The weather is always huge. It's really windy today, and it's a lot hotter than I thought, and I have too many clothes on. I hope my deodorant doesn't let me down, right? Whatever it is that is happening to you out in nature, whatever the feeling is, try to document that. Because remember, by documenting things, it means it's important to you. So use that cell phone as a tool to help you record your thoughts when you're out in nature. Okay. So let's get back to smell. Smell happens when the receptors in your nose pick up aromatic molecules in the air. These molecules ooze out of objects and living organisms in the environment all around you, right? We know that pheromones are out there. There's smells that we have decided we like, smells that we don't like. And here's a fun fact, because I love fun facts.
Why didn't Swedes have concrete?
Animals have different ways of navigating the world, and their senses are much more heightened than ours. In fact, they say that dogs and canines have a heightened sense of smell, like between 10 and 100,000 times better than ours. And the reason for that is the air is exhaled through the slits in their nose so it doesn't dilute the incoming scent. So this is the nose of a common domestic dog. This is one of our wild dogs that we have across the country. This is a coyote. This is a red fox, and this is the sweet and lovable gray fox that we have here in Ohio. And I'm not sure what their range is as far as the rest of the country goes. But again, I told you in the beginning, I love fun facts. And if they're natures, that's even better. So we smell things the way that's beneficial to us. And they smell things that are beneficial to them for number one, to find food and those kinds of things. So anyways, you smell more aromatic molecules during summer, but why? Well, during summer, it's hot and muggy, and the hot, muggy air holds more scent molecules, and it enables them to move through the atmosphere more quickly. So we're smelling a whole lot of stuff all at the same time in the summer. The opposite happens in fall. Why? Air molecules contract and move together in cooler temperatures, and they leave less space for scent molecules to move through. So we're bombarded with smells in the summer, but we're able to pick out specific smells and scents in the fall. So in summer, we have a more mixture of scent and a wide variety of scent. Says Rachel Hertz, a neuroscientist. When it gets cooler and drier, specific scents tend to stand out more, and we're able to pull that scent out of leaves and bark and grass and things a lot more. So the leaves, those are the smells, because there aren't that many smells that can get through because they're so diluted, but there's so much of that sugary smell from the leaves that it gets into our noses, clearly, that don't work as well as the dogs, but it gets in there. And that's how we have such an attraction or a memory built with the smell of fall. Now, some of you might argue that in summertime, there's so many smells, and I can say, well, I remember the smell of cut grass. Well, yes, you do, because that smell was activated in close proximity to you. But after that grass was cut, then that smell became just a part of the million other things that are smelling out there. Researchers and scientists have determined that smell can evoke memories, like you walk into a house or something and you smell somebody baking bread. And if that was a memory that you had of baking bread with your grandma or your mom or something, that smell activates that memory, right? Smells can bring on memories in a way that none of our other senses can do. And what is that all about? Well, the meeting of molecule and memory happens when you smell something familiar, and it triggers a visceral split-second response in the amygdala and the hippocampus sections of the brain, the zones where emotional memory and associations are stored. Now, again, if this really does it for you, if you love the idea of learning about your brain and how your brain processes things, you may want to do a deep dive again on the internet, looking up things that how your brain actually categorizes smells and how different smells are activated in there. So again, this might not be your cup of tea. You might not like really want to get all intellectual with the brain parts of it. But if you did, now you have something to look for. So again, this is what I'm trying to help you guys with, is to just give you the ability after this webinar to be so excited about something nature related, health related, that's going to make you want to go and research more. Okay, so the dominant earthy smells of fall are largely the product of plants hunkering down for winter. Fallen leaves begin to decay, and their sugars and organic compounds in the leaf break down, creating that classic musky, sweet smell of a leaf pile. Now, my husband is a sugar fiend. He loves all things sugar. So I'm pretty sure that he really enjoys smelling the leaves in the fall because of that sugary smell that's out there. But all of that memories of the smell, what it actually is, if you really wanted to do more research on what sugars are breaking down, what leaves emit what sugar, this is what keeps you keeps me excited. It keeps me wanting to go and learn something new. Like, gosh, that was so interesting. I wonder what. And that's what keeps our brains healthy. That's what keeps our bodies healthy. That's what keeps us continually challenging ourselves. And again, nature can be so healing. When I did this, a program similar to this in nature journaling, the assignment was I showed them how to draw leaves, which we're going to do here in a couple of minutes if you'd like to just observe or possibly just try your hand at it. But the assignment was to draw the leaves and think about what fall means to you. And one of my students at the end, I have one of her pieces that I want to share with you. And I totally forgot that I have this slide. So let's get through this one first. If you enjoy books and you would like to read a little bit more, both of these books I recommend so highly. They are easy reads. They are so interesting, and they're about trees because the leaves fall from the trees and trees are so important. So I'm just going to give you a little bit of information on both of these books, and I believe you can get them from the your library on Libby or whatever it is that you might use to get books. But Teaching the Trees, Lessons from the Forest, the book on the left by Joan Maloof. It says, in this collection of natural history essays, biologist Joan Maloof embarks on a series of lively, fact-filled expeditions into forests of the eastern United States. Through Maloof's engaging conversational style, each essay offers a lesson in stewardship as it explores the interwoven connections between a tree species and the animals and insects whose lives depend on it, and who in turn work to ensure the tree's survival. This book was written in 2007. And as a scientist, Maloof accepts that trees have a spiritual dimension that cannot be quantified. As an unrepentant tree hugger, she finds support in the scientific case for biodiversity. As an activist, she can't help but wonder how much time is left for our forests. She's no nonsense. It is a beautiful, easy read. So I do recommend that book. If you're in a book club, put that as one of the book clubs that you would recommend for your book club. The next book, The Hidden Life of Trees by Peter Volheben, is a New York Times, Washington Post, and Wall Street Journal bestseller from 2016. And it's one of the most beloved books of our time, an illuminating account of the forest and the science that shows us how trees communicate, feel, and live in social networks. After reading this book, a walk in the woods will never be the same again. Are trees social beings? In The Hidden Life of Trees, Peter Volheben convincingly makes the case that yes, the forest is a network, a social network. He draws on groundbreaking scientific discoveries to describe how trees are like human families. Tree parents live together with their children, communicate with them, support them as they grow, share nutrients with those who are sick and struggling, and even warn each other of impending dangers. Volhaben also suggests shares his deep love of woods and forests, explaining the amazing process of life, death, and regeneration in his beloved woodland. There's also a note in there from a forest scientist named Dr. Suzanne Simmerod, who's doing very similar experiments and research on trees in the Pacific Northwest. It is also published in partnership with the David Suzuki Institute. If you don't know who David Suzuki is, he is a environmental conservationist who provides information and research to a vast number of organizations and companies and individuals to help create a sustainable information highway for people to do whatever they want with the information that he provides. So I highly recommend those books, that you look at them if you're a reader. If not, that's okay too. But getting back to my my program, when I did it, and the assignment that I gave my students was to draw leaves and then reflect on what they had learned in class and how they would interpret that in their journal. And this is what one of my students came up with. And I'm going to teach you guys how to draw the leaves roughly like that. But what she got out of it was the ability to let go. And she has these swirling leaves here with the important things, love and peace and joy. But the things that she was letting go was guilt and shame and failure, fear, regret, all of those things that can consume us. But if we would look to nature and understand that there's beauty in letting go, and think about that as you're going through whatever it is that you're going through, or you need to allow yourself a little bit of grace as we, continue on our life journey. So that is my presentation. So now, whoops, I am done sharing. So now we can open it up for questions. If anybody has anything they'd like to say, you can unmute yourself at this point if you'd like to. If you're more comfortable adding your questions or things in the chat, you can do that. We'll take a few moments to do that, and then I'll teach you to draw some leaves. Nobody has any questions? Oh, it's 110 degrees where that person is, and it'll take a while for fall to arrive. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry to hear that.
Wendy, yes, these sessions are being recorded and they'll be on the AARP Ohio YouTube channel.
Well, if nobody has any questions, then we're going to get into our little drawing lesson. So,
no questions. However, I grew up in a house that was well over 200 years old in Massachusetts, and we had what they called the woodshed, and that's a section where they used to store the wood. And in the autumn, and I'm not quite sure if my dad did it just for the smell or what, but I remember walking in there as a child in smelling the apples before you entered the kitchen. And that's truly my idea of autumn.
Perfect. And you remember that smell. That's the thing that brings up memories in ways that nothing else could. You could see a photograph of that wood pile or that room, and sure, you're going to have a vision of it, but when you smell apples again, oof, you're taken right there, right? So that's amazing. So thank you for sharing that. Anybody else before we begin drawing? Now, I've been teaching drawing for a long time, and a lot of people are very timid about it, and they're like, oh, I don't know. I've been, trying for years, or I haven't drawn in a long time, or one of the worst things that I hear, and I do hear it, which makes me very sad, is, oh, my art teacher said I had no talent, or blah, blah, blah. I was like, oh, whoa, whoa, whoa. Your art teacher was supposed to be the one who you loved. You're supposed to love art class and gym class. Those were you're supposed to be your favorites. So when I hear somebody that did not have a wonderful experience in art, that kind of makes me extremely sad. So we're going to fix that for you, and we're going to turn all of you into artists. So what I'd like you to do is, I tell my students whenever we begin drawing, you can draw whatever you want with whatever you want, pencil, pen, marker, crayon, it doesn't matter. But when you're drawing, hold your pen lightly. If you can hold it from the top, you're going to be less afraid of it, right? Because you kind of don't even have a whole lot of control over it. So it's going to do whatever it wants to do. So when you're doing your drawing lesson for this class, I'd like you to stand up and draw as well. Just draw, allow your hand to go limp and draw. All you're going to draw are a series of the letter C and S. I'm sure you all can do that, and backwards C's and backwards S's. So I'm going to attempt to bring you guys down to my table and show you what I'm talking about. I have my pen, I'm holding it nice and high, and I'm drawing a letter C. I'm drawing an S over here. I'm going to draw another C, but it's going to be backwards. And I'm going to do an S over here. That's it. I think we all can do that, right? So now it's just a matter of turning these C's and S's into leaves. So we're going to do another one with the C, another easy shape, and we're going to do a triangle. Pick one end, doesn't matter which side, and you're just going to make a curved triangle on one end, and then curve on back up, and I'm going to make a really long stem right there. There's my leaf.
Danette, I did drop it in the chat, but if you are having a hard time seeing because you have the squares of everybody's faces and initials, if you click on the upper right-hand corner, you'll see a button that says View. Click on that and select Speaker View, and it'll bring Danette up to front and center.
Everybody got that? So yes. So there we go. There's one leaf. Easy peasy lemon squeezy, right? So now I'm going to do this one, and I'm going to do the triangle at the bottom. So I'm just going to go here. Oops. Draw another triangle. This one I'm going to make skinny. He's skinny, right? And his stem is coming all the way around, right? And now the thing that maybe we want to do is add some of those veins. So there are the veins, right? So there's our leaf, right? And then what makes it even more fun, like my friend did in the piece that I showed you, is to just add motion lines, like it's tumbling out of the sky, right? Same thing with this guy. Now the S's are a little bit tricky, but we can do it. I believe in us. So you have that S, and then you're just going to sort of make it a figure eight almost, right? So now I'm going to add the veins here, veins coming up. I'm going to add just a little triangle here, right? Like it's trying to curve itself back. Veins always point up. So if you're thinking about this as the tip of your leaf, make your veins just go up. Okay, again, I'm going to put a few motion lines. And now these leaves are taking off and moving about. Same thing here. Maybe I'll have the stem curve around. Right? Remember the veins? They come this way. And there we go. We have some beautiful leaves that we can now doodle when we're on the phone forever with our bank or the pharmacy or the cable company, whatever it is. We can now doodle leaves and think about how amazing nature is and how amazing fall is. Okay. All right. Well, that's all I have for y'all. So hopefully you're excited about either finding those books or Googling something that you found on the in the program. And you can, get excited about the season of fall. So if anybody has any questions, fire away. If not, I hope to see you in a couple of weeks or next week.
So Danette, this is
Yes, ma'am.
Samantha. I
Yes.
do have a question. So Veronica wrote in the chat that she didn't have many leaves in her part of Arizona. She missed the leaves in New York City. So can people to bring back those scents and memories of fall cheat a little bit with natural oils or something that might help them to remember, pine or, maple or
Apples, baked apples this time of the year, even if you live in a place where there aren't apples, apples are shipped in this time of the year because they are everywhere. So baking apple pies or apple fritters, boy, I've just gone on Instagram and must have downloaded like 15 different recipes that have to do with apples. So pumpkins, anything that will bring up that smell. Pumpkin spice, there's a certain coffee house that touts its pumpkin spice latte or whatever it is. Go there. Yes, Samantha, there are so many different things to bring out that sense of fall. And whatever it is, whenever it is, 110 degrees, I feel for you. And when fall does come, those crinkled up, dried up leaves, give those a smell and see what happens. Okay.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Danette, and thank you all for joining us this evening. One of the things that Danette talked quite a bit about today was letting go and figuring out where you are on that particular journey. If you are near an AARP office, I do know that there happen to be various opportunities for you to continue to engage in things letting go. We in Northeast Ohio do quite a bit of presentations on downsizing and decluttering. So check out the website of AARP. You could do a search by your location. We also offer shredding events to protect your own personal information. We really hope that you enjoyed it and hope that you will join us again next week for Discovering Magic in the Mundane, where Danette will guide us on a journey to really appreciating the little things that might go unnoticed in our lives, including robins. Not me, the birds. I'm never unnoticed. The red-breasted songbirds are oftentimes noticed in spring and in fall, and they're oftentimes indicators of spring in the north. So I did drop the registration link if you've not already registered in the chat. And again, really want to help you continue your lifelong journey on learning, and I want to make sure that you have that access to the website, the AARP.org/health/healthy living, where you can find more information and resources to help you on your journey, no matter where you are. Again, thank you. And please give Danette a heart in the chat for spending her evening with us. And I look forward to seeing you all again 1 week from today, October 10th, same time.
Yay. Thank you for coming, and I hope you enjoyed it.